Hi, I'm Barb Grady. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Barb Says. Today I'm going to be talking to you about death. Death is a part of life, and yet it's something that's really scary to a lot of people, and it's really scary to kids because they don't really understand death. There are three concepts that children really don't understand. The first is the finality of death. In other words, once you're gone, you're not coming back. And so, especially in cartoons and other kinds of things, people die and then they jump right back up. So they don't understand finality. The second thing is causality. Kids really don't understand what causes death. There are accidents, right? There's war, there's, illness, there's old age, but they don't understand about the whole causality thing. And the third thing that they really don't understand is the inevitability of it. We're all going to die. It's a journey we are all going to make. So death is something that I think it's important to talk to your kids about. And when you talk about it, and it's a natural part of the life cycle, it makes it far easier for children to cope with. It's just that death in our society isn't handled particularly well. So what I want you to do is I want you to kind of examine your own beliefs about death, and then there will come a time where you are going to have to deal with this with your kids. Either it's a pet dying, or a grandparent, or someone in your family, somebody that you know is going to die, and you are going to have to deal with that. So let's talk about how to help kids cope with death. I have an article on my website which I'd like you to download. It has lots of wonderful resources, books. I call it bibliotherapy, books that deal with kids' feelings in regard to death and the concepts of death. And there's a wonderful book that I use with kids called When Someone Very Special Dies by Marge Hegan. That's wonderful. It's a coloring book that you do with kids. But they talk about death as a part of life. And they use the metaphor of an egg, and then a caterpillar, and then a gorse, the chrysalis, and then a butterfly. So here's another thing that I want you to think about. Kids expect you to know something. They expect you to know kind of what happens after you die. Now, I don't think anyone's like 100% certain exactly what happens after you die, but you have to have something to say to your kid. So I want you to think about, your own belief system. What do you believe happens? And I want you to be able to have a concrete answer for kids when they ask you. For me, I believe that life is eternal and love is immortal and death is only a horizon, save the limit of our sights. I stole that from Carly Simon, one of her songs. Anyway, that song gave me incredible comfort when my sister died. So what I want you to do is I want you to come up with your own belief system or something very concrete that you can tell kids, about whatever it is that matches your belief system. Because they're going to ask you and they want to know. And then they're going to want to know kind of what happens to the body. If the person's not in their body anymore, then what happens to the body? And I just talk about it very, very matter-of-factly. As long as I just talk about it matter-of-factly. The trouble is, when you're grieving, when your heart is broken and your heart is aching, it's very hard to deal with these subjects matter-of-factly with children. So, So what I want you to do is I want you, if you need help, and there isn't anybody on this planet that doesn't need help with some kind of grief or grieving, and I'm going to tell you that loss is built into our experience here on Earth. Everyone here on this planet is going to experience loss. So how you handle that, we're going to talk about how to handle that. We're going to talk about how to help kids deal with that. But I will tell you that kids' understanding of those three concepts depends on two things. It depends upon their age, and it depends upon the experience that they have with death. I was working with a 4-year-old child who had actually been in the room alone with her father when he OD'd. And so her concept of death was very, very different from other typical 4-year-olds. A lot of kids need criteria about what is dead and what is alive, because they don't get. So I give them very concrete, criteria. If something's dead, it doesn't move, it doesn't eat, it doesn't grow, and it doesn't feel. So, if something's dead, they have to decide, well, is this dead? Look at the bug right here. Is this one dead or is it alive? Oh, it's a roly-poly, but he's okay, no, but look, he is moving, okay. If they eat, they move, they grow, they feel, they're alive. If they don't, they're not. And again, there are wonderful, wonderful books that help kids at different ages in regard to those three concepts and in regard to dealing with their feelings when a person dies. Also, it isn't our job to protect children from feeling pain. My daughter had this little gerbil, and she loved this little gerbil, Ruby. Anyway, what happened is Ruby died. And I was thinking, okay, wow, I've got time before I have to go pick her up from school. I can run down, get another black gerbil. Geez, no one will know. I could switch out Ruby, stick in another gerbil, and then everything will be like okay. And a lot of parents think it's their job to make it so that their children don't feel any kind of sorrow or pain or grief or loss, and that is not your job. Your job is to help them cope when that happens. So I had to buck it up, and I didn't go get the other journal. I had to buck it up, and then we talked about it. We talked about it. She came home. Of course she cried. She was incredibly upset. And that hurts your heart when your kids are hurting. But then you have to be able to comfort them. And then you have to talk about it and talk about what happens. And then we had a little ceremony. We buried Ruby. And actually, she wrote an award-winning book. Won an award at a Young Authors Conference Day at her school about Ruby and how she loved Ruby and Ruby's place in her life. So again, it's not our job to keep it so that children don't feel any of this. It is our job to help them cope with it. It is our job to help them understand it. And it is our job to be able to answer their questions with kindness, compassion, and with concrete answers. So if you need any more help on this, I want you to go to my website where I have a downloadable PDF about how to help children with trauma and grief. And let's talk about grief just really quickly. If any of you are familiar with Kubler-Ross's work, grief is a 5-step process. Everybody actually feels these same things. They feel anger. They feel denial. They do some bargaining. They get depressed. And finally, they have acceptance. Well, kids kind of go through that same cycle. And adults go through that cycle again and again and again. It isn't just like, oh, God, thank God. I was angry, they left me, but now I'm okay. Now, but then it happens again, and it happens again. It's kind of like an onion. You peel layer after layer after layer. And there isn't anybody that I haven't met, including myself, who doesn't need help managing and coping with grief and death and loss and trauma. So again, if you need any help, give me a call. Barb says. Put your hand on your heart and say with me, my heart to your hearts, I wish you well. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, and if you need more help or you'd like to schedule an appointment with me, go to my website at parenting-plus.com. You'll find my contact information and give me a call. Barb says.